Follow me here because there are a lot of them. $192 million. That's just what the film brought in its first 3 days. It's now projected to hit $218 million for its 4-day total. That's not only the highest opening ever for a February film, it's the largest President's Day weekend opening for a film, and it's in the top 5 movie openings of all.
After the release of Marvel's Black Panther film in 2019, characters of color in film and comics roles began to change. We see Black characters transition from side roles to being the main protagonists. In this documentary, 3 experts on pop culture and 3 fans discuss the representation of Black superheroes.
I mean, I've been a fan of comics and then comic figures in that transition to films happened in the last 20 years for a long, long time. On a scholarly level, it's increasingly become clear to me that, as has always been the case, comics and now their transition into film really are expressions of the zeitgeist. They're expressions of a kind of cultural collective consciousness, and are therefore really important to study both anthropologically but also to understand where we're at here culturally at the beginning of the 20th century. I think a really telling example pre-Black Panther was Wesley Snipes' Blade. Blade's a vampire hunter, right? That's what he does. And it's a great action, it's a great role for Wesley Snipes because he's such a great action figure and so athletic and everything. Blade's great, he's got a sword, he's got all this stuff. But what makes Blade special is he's kind of part vampire himself, right? Because his mother was attacked by a vampire when she was pregnant with him, and so he's sort of got human and vampire qualities. But I think that's exactly the sort of way in which we still see the racism present there, where he only gets to be a superhero because he's also part the monster that he hunts. And that's what we've done to the black male body forever, right? The anthropologists will call this the thugification of the black male, where this figure exists in culture only as a kind of predator, only as a kind of criminal, only as a kind of monster.
That before the Black Panther film, it was unclear to many in the film industry, and I guess maybe even many in society at large, whether there was an audience that was going to be big enough for there to be a large profit on on African American superheroes that have their own film. So you saw a lot of films that have African American superheroes, but they're always like somebody's sidekick. And I think what that film demonstrated is not only is there a hunger and a need for that, for African American superheroes to have standalone films where they are the stars, but also that the market can support it.
One of the things that I think is really important in modern superhero movies, films, especially something like Black Panther, is that you have a figure who is black and powerful in and of himself because that's the society he comes from. He's not powerful because American society, white society, has granted him this power. Wakanda has its own resources. Wakanda has its own might, and he controls it.
Growing up, I never had a hero that looked like me. I would always have to, envision myself as them. I couldn't really have a real representation of what that was. So I think it's come a long way, and I think it's going in the right direction.
I'm for girls, like Barbies and other things like that. They didn't have African American depicted characters for young black girls. So superheroes and cartoon characters for young men is important too.